rotate back for launch position so that they can easily access those displays. So coming up next, the crew will do a comm check once they're all settled in. And that's so that they can check to make sure that they can hear mission control, and then after that, their seats will be rotated into position. So let's check in with John Inspector for the latest on the health of both of those vehicles. John, what's the status update today?
We're at T-minus 2 hours, 43 minutes, and counting down for the launch of Falcon 9 with Dragon to the space station. As you see, the Dragon launch pad team has obviously arrived at the pad. They got there shortly after T-minus 4 hours. Opened up the side hatch on Dragon, got ready for the arrival of the astronauts. We saw the crew come up the elevators, walk over and enter Dragon, and they're now getting situated inside the capsule. Now, the flight team is monitoring data from Dragon. They most recently have completed a command and telemetry check of the radio frequency system on Dragon through the tracking and data relay satellite network. That looked to go well. There are no issues in work as we watch the astronauts getting situated in their seats inside the Dragon spacecraft. The Falcon 9 team is preparing for final checkouts and propellant load. Those checkouts are due to begin at T-minus 2 hours, some 42 minutes from now, when the launch crew officially gets on console in the firing room. All systems on Falcon 9 are currently go. The range continues to be green on the support side. The areas around the pad obviously clear except for the folks doing the entry into the capsule. Air and sea space are clear. We hear helicopter go by from time to time. The big concern is the weather forecast. We are continuing right now at a 50% probability of violation of the weather constraints. The big concerns are going to be the thick clouds, precipitation, possibility of lightning. I mentioned earlier, normally you get a strong sea breeze from the ocean that pushes inland and keeps the clouds from Central Florida from building up. But today the sea breeze is fairly weak, so we expect the thunderstorms will get closer to launch pad. We're also checking downrange conditions. If there's a contingency splashdown of Dragon, we're looking at essentially the wave heights, lightning, rain along the trajectory. Right now it's marginal, but it is still go. We do expect that to improve slightly during the day. So fingers crossed there that the downrange weather looks good. But right now it's T-minus 2 hours, 41 minutes as the clock continues to count down. All systems are go for launch.
All right, thanks, John I. And as we watch Bob and Doug get buckled into their seats, I'm joined once again by SpaceX's Jessica Jensen, just to kind of walk through everybody what made Dragon a 21st century spacecraft. So first off, thanks for coming in today. I know you got to come in for a launch. That's always tough. All right. Walk us through again kind of Dragon's life history. I mean, we have one in a clean room pretty soon right behind us. Walk us how we got to where we are today to have Bob and Doug climbing into that spacecraft.
Sure. So SpaceX was founded to make life multiplanetary. That was why Elon started the company back in 2002. But also when he founded the company, we were a very small company for several years. And so we had to look for opportunities to, hey, how do you go from being a small company to actually putting people into orbit? So when NASA came out with the need to fly cargo to and from the International Space Station, we jumped on that because we said, hey, first, not only is carrying cargo to and from the space station cool, I bet we could actually then fly people to the International Space Station. And hey, for 8 years now we've been flying cargo, and then now we have transitioned over into flying crew and cargo together. So that's basically been the evolution of Dragon, and it's been awesome.
And I know when we see Falcon 9, we get to talk a lot about reusability. Everyone is very familiar with the first stage coming back down, how cool that looks. Dragon is also designed with some reusability. In fact, you've flown Dragons multiple times to the space station. How does reusability factor into Dragon's life cycle?
Yeah, so I'll actually talk a little bit about both, because one thing I think everyone always thinks about reusability and, hey, it saves money or that's great, but reusability actually improves your reliability. So when we get Falcons back and when we get Dragons back, either after one mission or multiple missions, we can do all these detailed inspections on them. And that's super important because when you fly a vehicle, you can only have so many sensors on it. You can't put a sensor, every single inch of a rocket or a spacecraft.
There's already way more than I think anybody realizes.
Exactly. But so, especially for rockets that wind up in the ocean, some people don't have any idea of what they actually went through. So the fact that we get all the hardware back, we were able to inspect literally every square inch of it and make small design changes that actually improve reliability for the whole fleet. So even though Bob and Doug are on a brand new rocket and a brand new spacecraft, those spacecraft are actually more reliable based on the knowledge we've learned from reusability.
We've walked people through a lot of the new systems on Dragon. What are just some of the cool things that are maybe beneath the surface that people don't know about with Dragon?
So I think one of the coolest things is the autonomous docking system. And what that is it's basically we have, GPS sensors on Dragon, but then we also have cameras and imaging sensors such as a LiDAR on basically the nose cone or the front part of Dragon as it's approaching the space station. And all these sensors are feeding data back to our flight computer to say, hey, how far away am I from the space station? What's my relative velocity to the space station? And then that feeds into the flight computer, which has algorithms written by our engineers to say, okay, based on how far away you are in your rates, here's how you fire the thrusters to most effectively get to the docking target. And I think that's just super cool.
Well, I mean, we're all waiting for our cars to drive ourselves to work, and for Bob and Doug, that's exactly what it's doing for them.
Exactly. And what I think is so cool is the computer does this just like flawlessly. It's easy. When I tried to do it, I failed miserably. I tried to dock Dragon to the ISS 3 times, and I failed. Fourth time I got it. And I will tell the public out there that on our website, we actually have a Dragon ISS simulator, so you yourself can try and fire the thrusters and see how well you do. Maybe I'm just a bad driver, but I think the flight computer does a really good
I
job.
think we all had fun with it. All right, well, we are just starting to hear. They're going to start up those comp checks with Bob and Doug.
CDR, BLT, comp check.
So let's listen in.
CDR, loud and clear. DLT, loud and clear.
Core, loud and clear. Umbilical comp check complete. Stand by for ground station comp check.
And again, we're just listening in. They're doing these comm checks, these communication checks. So Bob and Doug are going to do a series of these checkouts with the teams on the ground, both the Core here in Hawthorne and the launch director out in Florida. And they're going to be doing this over Dragon to ground. And they're also going to be doing it over the countdown net. Those are the 2 main loops or nets that you're going to hear going out. They're going to be doing it through their different communications paths. We heard them do through the TDRS or the tracking data and relay satellites. Those are those primary satellites that we're going to be used to talk to Bob and Doug throughout their flight and to send commands to Dragon. They'll also do it through ground stations. SpaceX has a worldwide network of ground stations that they're able to communicate with the vehicle. That's what we'll be using to get video inside the cabin of Bob and Doug on their flight up. So if you tuned in the other day, this is one of the first things that they do once they get inside the vehicle. This is just to make sure all the communication systems with the Dragon spacecraft, with the suits, everything are working. They're able to talk to and hear everybody on the ground.
Dragon, SpaceX, comp check, ground station.
SpaceX Dragon, loud and clear.
Core, loud and clear. Ground station comp check complete. Stand by for TDRS comp check.
And just a reminder, you're hearing the core. That's the crew operations responsible engineer. That's, if you followed NASA missions in the past, that's the CAPCOM position. That is pretty much the singular voice that's talking to the astronauts throughout their flight. That's a position based here in Hawthorne, California. And you'll also hear
Dragon, SpaceX, comp check, TDRS.
SpaceX Dragon, loud and clear.
Core, loud and clear. TDRS comp check complete. Stand by with comp checks with MD and LD in the launch configuration.
Dragon, MD on countdown 1. Function.
SpaceX, Jason, loud and clear.
Copy, loud and clear. Glad to have you guys on board. Stand by for comm check on Dragon and Ground. Dragon, MD, Dragon and Ground, comm check.
MD Dragon, loud and clear.
MD, loud and clear. Stand by for comm checks with LD.
Dragon, launch director on countdown 1, comm check.
Good afternoon, Mike. Loud and clear.
I have you the same, and good afternoon. Stand by for my comm check on Dragon to ground. Dragon, SpaceX, on Dragon to ground, comm check.
SpaceX Dragon, loud and clear.
I have you the same. Back to Corn.
Dragon SpaceX, this concludes our launch configuration comm checks. Report when ready for seat rotation for section 2 of 4.100.
Dragon, I'll put that in orbit.
Copy.
Alright, so all those communications checks were done successfully, and you can even see, and it's so cool when we get these views right inside the cabin.
SpaceX Dragon in 2.2, we are ready for seat rotation.
Copy. We will report when initiating.
But you can see Doug Hurley using his right hand. He has the talk button built into the seat itself. So just again showing you all of the different systems, how the suit is integrated into the seat. It's all just one big circle for this whole spacecraft. So really cool to see those comm checks live. Jessica, thank you so much for walking us through some of the really cool updates, the upgrades. Did you have any other cool stuff besides?
Let's see. So I don't know if you guys can see, but we have the Dragon clean room here, and one of the coolest things is it is right on the main floor of our main building. So thousands of employees walk by here all the time and get to see Dragon in its final processing before it goes to the Cape. On Wednesday, the Crew 1 capsule was in here. It looked almost done. It looks a little empty right now, but that's because that capsule went off into our separate test facility for its final propulsion checks. So we do leak checks and things there, and we do that in a separate facility just because it's high pressure testing. And then the vehicle will come back here, get its final thermal protection system put on, and then it will ship off to Cape Canaveral and get ready to launch 4 astronauts to the International Space Station.
I mean, what's it like to see it? Because